the pain was so bad that I could not sit for 10 minutes. Like sitting was torture. Every day was painful. I was scared to drive. Even one time I was driving to a chiropractor, and in the car I started to lose feeling. Death sounds like really nice. Like because I don't know if I can do this.
Welcome to the Whealth Podcast. In this episode, our Limitless member Camille shared her story with me on how she overcame a debilitating L5-S1 disc bulge, sciatica, and chronic back pain, as well as scoliosis. After trying physical therapy, chiropractic, 2 injections, and countless other treatments with no success and spending tens of thousands of dollars, she found herself in the darkest place in her life, wondering if life was even worth living anymore. Now, once unable to sit for 10 minutes without back pain, sciatica, and numbness, Camille is now traveling the world pain-free. She started her own business. She's lifting weights and running and getting back into doing all of the activities that she loves. She feels like she has a whole new lease on life. So if you're feeling stuck in pain, out of options, this story will inspire you to believe in your body's ability to heal. Let's dive in. So as I was getting ready for this podcast, and this could be a good segue into it, I was refreshing myself on your story because you started the Limitless program in April of 2022 for chronic low back pain and sciatica. I was going back through your Facebook posts and I saw this post where you said a big win for you during the program was being able to, maybe it was fly to some sort of wedding. And then we were chatting and you're texting, you're like, hey, I'm traveling all over. I'm on the plane. What is the significance of that for someone who hasn't had chronic back pain or sciatica to like go through that and then now be able to experience what you're experiencing?
Yeah, it's crazy because my whole life I've always loved traveling. Like as a little kid, absolutely loved it, but I guess I took it for granted. I never thought it was traveling itself was a big deal, but the logistics of it, riding on a plane, carrying luggage, I never even thought about it. But then when I was in the chronic pain journey, all of a sudden, it's not even that I couldn't do any of that. It was like, that was like the end of the world. Like imagining sitting on a plane or imagining lifting luggage was incomprehensible. So being on the other side of it, it's like, wow, this actually is a big deal. It's crazy what we take for granted.
Yeah, and you wouldn't know that if you hadn't dealt with, chronic pain or injury. So what were you? You're 28 years old now?
29.
Right? 29. All right. So when you were 26, that's when you were diagnosed. Was it an L5-S1 disc bulge?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Technically L5-S1 disc bulge. Yeah.
And I remember you were talking about how you couldn't carry groceries. I mean, all of it makes sense, right? I've dealt with sciatica and a disc herniation, so I understand that. But for people who are maybe listening or people who have not gone through some sort of successful healing or injury or disc injury, what do you think people are missing out on or like not understanding about chronic pain and like what it's like to suffer through that?
A lot, yeah, because when I was in that pain, I remember if I would so for example, the pain was so bad that I could not sit for 10 minutes. Like sitting was torture, every little day task. And I remember, and it puts you in a negative space, of course. And I remember one day when I was, every day was painful. But one day of the many days that was terrible pain, I went briefly to a coffee shop with my friend. And I remember looking in the coffee shop and seeing people sitting, working on their laptops. And I remember looking at them and literally thinking, they don't know how lucky they are to just be able to sit there and work. I couldn't even dream of that at that point in my life. Just being able to go to a coffee shop and sit down to work. And I was in a really low place then. So I also remember feeling like kind of really angry and like jealous and so low of just like, why can't you guys be thankful that you can do the little things? Like I never even knew that was special. And now I can't even leave the house. So you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. That's invoking definitely some emotions that I had almost like, I don't like to look at myself as a victim, but there were definitely points where, when I was 21 and I was dealing with the disc herniation and, it feels like your whole world is taken away from you and you love traveling, or for me, I love lifting. And, my entire life identity, I think, was around being an athlete, and I loved pushing myself. And so then over the course of 6 months, pain starts getting really bad. For me, it was nerve pain. It was sciatica. I mean, that just upended my life. And I felt the same way. It felt very unfair. I couldn't make sense of why I was dealing with this pain, because I was like, I want to get rid of it. I will do the plan. I will do the PT. I will do whatever I have to get rid of it. But no one could seem to help me out. So it just felt really unfair, which I'm sure that's kind of what you felt like, right?
1,000%. Because I also, it's like, why me? Because I, just like you, I loved fitness. I was super active. I had previously been a big runner. I'd run half marathons, done all this stuff, and always taking good care of my body. So it's very much like, why is this happening to me? Like, I'm the worst person for this to happen to. I have so many goals, all this and that. And for me, and this might have been you too, like, it's not like I got in an accident. Like, there was,
Yeah.
people always say, well,
Right.
what did you do? Did you fall over? I'm like, no, I didn't do anything.
Right. Yeah. Like, I talk to people on the phone all the time, and, we've had people who have joined our Limitless program or hypermobility program, and car crashes. We had a member who fell 75 feet off of a mountain, broke his back. So clearly we have had people who've had traumatic issues, and everyone wants to make sense of why they're feeling the pain. And, some people would be like, oh, I was deadlifting one day and I felt this pop in my back or whatever. I don't even know if that makes it better or worse to have an associated injury with it. But I think we're all just trying to find meaning with the struggles that we're going through, and then how to persevere through that. So that's, I will say, cool, for lack of a better word, right? Everyone has those experiences with I was at the coffee shop or this or that. Yep. And I have some of those as well. But what had you tried before the program? From my recollection, it was PT and chiro and injections. You tried a lot of stuff before our program, right?
So many things. Sounds like maybe we have this in common a little bit, but I'm a fixer. When there is a problem, I want to fix it, which there are good things about that, but also there are some negatives, like when you overly control things. So, that'll probably be a theme of this discussion, is control and having to, let things be and surrender and whatnot. But and I still struggle with it, and that personality that I want to control things. And so if there's a problem, I want to fix it, and I want to fix it immediately. So from the start of the pain, I didn't know that it would be, or what, a year and change, but from the start, I wanted to fix it in my head in a matter of days. Fortunately, that did not happen at all. Because before I even found you guys, I think I had been trying to fix it for, I don't even know, six months at least, maybe 8 months. I can't remember now. But
what did you think you needed fixing at that time? What were you trying to fix?
I was trying to get out of pain.
Okay. And
trying to get out of pain.
Can you just very briefly describe what pain you were feeling?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Definitely. So a myriad of things. One, I did have the sciatica and numbness very early on. Actually, that's how the pain started for me. Was I had numbness start in my feet and up in my ankles. And I actually didn't have feeling in my foot for about a year, honestly. The numbness actually was one of the last things to fix. I kind of got used to it. I was like, am I ever gonna have feeling in my foot? So definitely had the sciatica issue, a lot of nerve issues, pain also, and certain things would set off the numbness. Like, if I would, sometimes driving, I was scared to drive, because even one time I was driving to a chiropractor, and in the car I started to lose feeling in my legs, and I got scared that I wouldn't be able to drive the car. And I remember actually, I was also in extreme pain, but then losing the feeling. I remember calling my mom, crying and being like, I'm starting to have a panic attack. I don't know if I can make it to the chiropractor, but I have to make it to the chiropractor, because this is the other portion of it. Just the pain was so bad. So I was having, I guess now I would say low back pain, but it would move around to different parts of my back and into my legs. And, pain is really bizarre, because it can refer different places, and it can play games with you, because you don't know where actually the problem is. But in addition to the numbness and the sciatica and nerve issues, I was just having extreme pain, to where I can't even find words for how bad it is. You probably know what I mean. Like I just will never be able to describe how bad it was. And I think my mind is, it's honestly a little bit hard for me to remember right now because I think my mind like is kind of protecting me from that. There's definitely like PTSD, trauma, whatever you want to say, from how bad it was. I just know that it's indescribable how bad it was.
Yeah, yeah, nerve pain's a different beast. We had a lot of our members are disc herniation, back pain, spinal stuff, along with a lot of other injuries as well. But I had a gentleman who maybe professional dirt biker or, to that level. And he's like, I've broken a lot of bones, a lot of crashes, a lot of like gnarly pain. He's like, nothing compares to sciatica or back pain. And, I've never broken any bones or anything like that. I used to swim and play water polo. So not really any instances in which I would have that. But I'm like, all right, well, maybe that gives me an appreciation for other injuries because that's all I could describe. And I think for anyone listening, it's like, if you've only ever had some sort of shoulder pain, I guess like the worst pain or the worst challenge you've experienced is the worst pain that you've ever had. So it's, I guess, subjective and personal, but yeah, it's not a fun thing to go through.
No, crazy. But yeah, and to move back to all the things I tried from the get-go, is again me wanting to fix everything. I tried, okay, it's a laundry list. I tried physical therapy. I tried, I'll list it out and then we can go into anything. Because so physical therapy, chiropractor, acupuncture. I tried very much also like Western and Eastern, like, traditional and a little woo-woo. I was like, I don't care what it is. You could tell me the craziest thing and I will try it. So, okay, so chiropractor, acupuncture, dry needling, okay, it's so many things I'm like blanking. Oh, spinal decompression, all the like red light therapy, cryotherapy, cold plunges, like any kind of therapist I can work with, I went to an energy healer. I mean, I was in LA, so I'm like, there's everything. Oh my goodness, what
You did
what
injections
else?
too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
from what I recall, you said those made you worse.
Yeah. Yes.
I never got injections. How did that make you worse?
So I got 2, which was probably the mistake. I got 1. And they can typically, for a steroid injection, I think they can do a series of 3. They kind of say like 3 is the max. So I did 1 and I felt nothing. Just they didn't do anything, didn't even notice. So usually what doctors say is if it's, we'll do more, take more medicine, do more of this,
Yeah.
So they said do another one. So I went in and did another one. And after that one, I noticed specifically worse nerve issues and sciatica, and to where I was numb in more places in my leg and feet. And I felt like it set me back so much more. And honestly, just the pain was somehow even worse. I had like more, as I had day-to-day pain, but then I would have like flares where I would have like sort of like episodes for maybe it would last a day or half a day to where it was like, I'm almost blacking out. It's so bad. And I would have a lot more of those like flares or episodes after that second injection. So I don't know if it could have been the placement of it or something with the nerves, but I really, really regretted getting that. But I mean, of course, I was desperate. Like what you don't know, you don't know. And I mean, so.
How did you come across Whealth? And I remember, it's really interesting. You did an Instagram story for us because I wanted to share your story years back. And I remember you wrote up some stuff like, I think in your words, you talked about courage and bravery, right? To join our program after trying so many things that didn't work. And I think that's where a lot of people are at. There's so many people who have seen our program, our story, our podcast, who are kind of waiting on the sidelines too. Because I think everyone kind of feels like you or me, like I've tried so many things. What gave you that courage or bravery to start our program? Because I know it was very difficult, but also at the same point in time, I know you signed up like the same day after we chatted on the phone. So it's kind of funny being like, I know it was brave, but your actions were like, you still jumped in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. I think probably a lot of people felt this way. So I was feeling like I had tried so many things and I had spoken to so many professionals and told them my story, and everyone says, "Oh, just try this. This will fix you." And by the way, I believe that these people mean what they're saying. Like just like you meant what you were saying when you were, telling me about the program. So you talk to so many people and they sell you their message that they believe in, that is obviously helpful in probably many cases. So you get excited about whatever this treatment is, you get excited and you do it. And when you keep doing it and you keep doing it and it fails you, you start to get really burnt and skeptical and bitter. So there's probably a lot of members that feel, or people that are almost members that feel that way. And I was definitely in that place. I think the different thing about Whealth was that it was honestly compared to other things, it was low cost. And it was a lot of just going back to basics. It wasn't some like crazy, out there thing. You weren't saying, I'm gonna give you an energy healing and pay me $1 million. Like it was honestly quite basic. So it was a lot it was a lot like a lower, there wasn't much to lose.
Sure.
There was nothing to lose. It also was gonna get me moving again. So at least I was moving. And then your questions were like, but you still signed up right away. It's because I think just my personality is like, I'm always gonna have hope. Like even if I'm at that like last breaking point, like I'll like still always try something, because the worst thing is to not try anything. Like I'm still in pain, so it's like maybe I'll get burned again and fail again, and that's really gonna suck and like be painful again if this doesn't work, but it's better than not trying.
Yeah, I feel like there's really no other option. And that's how I felt too. I was like, it's not fun going to a bunch of, I did kind of the same thing, chiro, PT, massage. I spent thousands of dollars very quickly, as I'm sure anyone who's spent any amount of time with PTs or chiros or whatever, any sort of treatments, it's like probably 3 to 5 sessions of that is the Whealth program, right? So that money adds up really quickly. And yes, it's very frustrating to go through things that don't work. I did this program years ago too, like you, found Andrew, and I felt like I don't have anything else. Like what else am I going to do if I don't do this? Like, am I going to give up? I'm 21 years old with back pain and sciatica. Like there is no other option for me but to just keep trying new things. What did you feel like felt basic or resonated with you about Whealth at that time? Because I like to think our approach is pretty common sense. Maybe for some people, the holistic aspect of, mind and body and head to toe, like foot all the way up to the neck, you're working on the entire body. I think that's pretty common sense and resonates with a lot of people. What did you kind of feel like resonated with you, at least about our program when you first started Limitless?
Yeah, I think a couple things. I think the basic part was we're building strength. Like we're building strength, working on our mobility. Like that was very basic, but foundations to where it kind of made sense. It's like, oh, right. Yeah, like we actually have to push ourselves a little bit. We might have to go through a little bit of pain because we have to relearn things and teach our body and et cetera, et cetera. So that was the part that kind of was just like, that's actually kind of simple and that makes sense. And the parts that were just additional add-ons that made a huge difference were you telling me like, well, you're going to be in a community, we have accountability. Like we have, people to be with you in it. Like, and a lot of it, I remember you telling me, it is what you make it.
Right.
You can spend a few minutes or a whole hour. You can do it all of the days of the week. You can do some of them. You can record videos and get form corrections. And that was like, okay, this is one of those where that's probably going to make or break it, how much you put into it.
I'm just going to scroll down a lot and you might get a good sense for how active Camille was. So these are just all various days. I think you started in April, going through and getting some form feedback check and recording yourself in your apartment or your living room, wherever that was. And let's see if there's some like, hi everyone, it's been a minute, but life has been good and pain free. now working with some ankle stuff. But this was so cool. Like, and I want to just kind of share this. You put in a lot of effort posting stuff. A lot of people don't do that, right? What did the community mean to you? Like, what was your process for doing the program and posting, and how did you make those improvements?
Yeah, that was a huge portion of it, because one, it's mentally harder when you do things alone. So I think just having a group and a Facebook group to know you're not alone helps. Also, people are at different phases of the program. And on the community, in the group in Facebook, it's cool because I can see people ahead of me. And I can see them saying like, hey, I've been in your spot, put the effort in, record the videos. So it's nice to have people that are steps ahead of you in the future being like, this is what you're going to want to know. You need to put the work on. So I listen to obviously your advice, but also the members' advices, the members that had done well and had success. And everybody said like, you need to record videos. You need to put the time in. And by the way, it's actually, it wasn't fun to do that because it made the workouts longer, having to record the videos and this, and I didn't want to do that, but I believed you guys and the members saying to do that. And I'm like, well, if I'm gonna spend this amount of time, might as well just tack on some more. But also just the mental piece of having the community helps so much as well too. It's way more motivating. You don't feel alone. And in my like specific case, I remember picking a few people to kind of be in my almost like my little accountability group, to where whenever I would post a video, I would tag the same people and always know that they were always gonna comment on my stuff and help me. And I would do the same for them. So it was so interesting having like people helping us, but we're putting it back and helping each other. And it's not just like a nice thing to do. It actually like really, really made a difference. I truly think that's why the program works, or probably can help a little bit or help with time.
Right, for sure. Yeah. What do you think that's why it works, or why it worked for you?
Well, let's say I didn't post the videos. Let's say I just did the workouts. We're all gonna make mistakes. It's like even if it's somewhat simple stuff, it's not that, some of the movements are a little bit more complicated, and we all have a lot of imbalances, and we're all off whack. So maybe there's a lot of stuff that I can't see if the way I'm moving, the way I'm squatting, deadlifting, whatever, like I could be turned a certain way or have something off balance and I won't see it. But if you record yourself, you see it and have other sets of eyes on it. But even if, honestly, if you just record yourself and you see it, that's going to even be helpful, because it's just crazy how we don't see what we're doing. So if you're not recording stuff or getting feedback, then you're just going to keep doing the same thing and making the same error. And so it's a lot harder to get better, if that makes sense.
I'm with you. I think there's a lot of merit and value into posting your videos, getting feedback from us. Our coaches are there. And then kind of the community involvement. There were some things like you talked a lot about kind of mindset and whatnot. As I was looking back on your old Facebook posts, there were like a few posts where you're like, hey, I had a bad day, posted on Facebook. I think you got some feedback and maybe some mental feedback or reassurance. And then later you posted like, hey, I'm proud of myself for not spiraling. What happened? Like, did you have ups and downs during the program and like that kind of kept you in check, or what did you mean by that? Like, I'm proud of myself for not spiraling when I'm feeling more pain or, feeling like I'm having an off day.
Yeah, no, it's a really good point. Yeah. So most people would say that no matter how bad pain can be, there's nothing harder than the mental part of it. Like the mental game is just so crazy what your mind can do, and how your mind can just really, really freak out and be really scared and take you in really bad places. And so with the program, obviously we love the program. It was incredibly effective, but was it perfect from day one? No. And that's actually a reason why it's so good to have the community as well, is people to say like,
right,
when you're going, because healing is going to go, like this. So yes, I did have success, fairly quickly, and it was moving upward, but I definitely had times where I was moving down or would have bad flare-ups. And my mind wants to freak out and go, oh no, this isn't working. I'm never going to heal, because the constant, like the mental game is the mind saying like, I'm never going to heal. This is forever. I cannot get out of
Yeah.
pain. I'm trapped. I'm stuck in my body. I'm a prisoner in my body. I can't get out. So when I had, during Limitless, when I maybe had some days that were those lower days, my mind wants to go back to that. I told you so. You're not going to heal. You're stuck. You're in pain forever. So having the community there, also being able to say like, I'm in a low place, and also hearing from other people their journeys of being like, you're going to get like, no, you are still moving up. Like you have to trust. And slowly I did get better with that. I put in a lot of time to the program. We saw it with the recording and etc. But I also did put a lot of time into the mental aspect. I worked a lot on that, and work learning how to sit in pain, and literally like meditate and do breath work and this and that. And I think that is such a great compliment to the program, which is why the program, you guys do talk about that. I don't just mean it's a compliment. You guys actually say like, you need to work on this stuff. It is so important, like doing both sides of it and learning how, like, one of my favorite words is surrender, because I mentioned that I want to control things. And so if I'm in control,
you're
pain,
a fixer, right?
Yeah, I'm a fixer. So like one of my life lessons, which learning to surrender, I think has been and always will be a lesson for me in life. But I think nothing showed me that more than this pain journey. Like what a way to really just shove that in my face and be like, you have problems with control. You have to learn how to surrender. And if you're not going to do it, like pain is going to teach you to do it. So that was also a fact of it. And like those days in the program that were low was just a reminder of like, no, like there is hope. I am going to get better, but I have to just like surrender to whatever this is today. Like this is a bad day, and I have to just like let this be.
Yeah. And I think it's so tough to know. I think everyone's different in how much like mental or spiritual work they need versus how much physical and biomechanical, and like, no, this is actually what's going on with the back and the hips. And we need to improve that strength. And there's no going around, the actual rehab, a good quality rehab program that you have to do. So I guess I want to touch on maybe some of the biomechanical movement stuff that you learned with the program, because it's a highly, there's obviously a massive focus. We just looked at your videos. That's you recording a bunch of different exercises, getting critiques and form checks on 150 exercises in the program over, several months. What kind of like movement, let's say philosophies or principles or things did you kind of uncover with Whealth that was different than, maybe a traditional chiro or PT or whatever? Like what's the secret sauce, even though, it's not a secret sauce, but what is that? Like, what's the difference? Because people are if they're not doing the program, it just seems like this like magical thing that Whealth is.
No, it is so funny, because like the secret sauce is so simple, like building strength. Like, of course, there's all these extra things, community, the mental game and all that, which is so great. But like, it really taught me the importance of building strength and becoming strong, because even though before, sure, I was like super active, running, doing this and doing that, like I was not strong. Like if you were like, let's talk about weightlifting, I'd be like, I don't actually know what that is.
Right.
Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like I go to yoga and run and like do workout classes, but I don't actually like know anything about strength.
Sure.
So I think that was like, it's so simple, but building strength and like reteaching your body how to like move properly, like working on your mobility. But for me, I think the big thing was really like learning how to lift heavy things and building strength. And that's what like is just such a game changer. And it's so simple, and it will forever ring true even to this day. It's like, when in doubt, probably just need to like get back in the gym and lift heavy weights. Like it's so simple, but it's the biggest game changer.
Yeah, that's awesome. You commented on one of our Instagram posts the other day, like this program got rid of my sciatica for good and got me into weightlifting, which changed my life. I know what you mean there. It's funny. You can say that sentence and it's such a short sentence, and then you can unpack that, and it's so meaningful. So your predisposition prior to the program was kind of like just cardio and yoga and stretching and whatnot.
Exactly. Yep. Yep. Yoga, stretching, running, hiking, not a lot of lifting.
Okay. Yeah. And that's cool to hear, because I had a podcast with one of our members, Sarah Hagstrom, and she joined the program, but admittedly was nervous to join the program because she's like, I see so many like fit and strong people who have a lot of muscle mass, and I do yoga, and this program doesn't look like it's for me. But going through, she learned how to lift, and it sounds like you did as well, right? So
totally. I didn't know anything about it before. Like I mean, maybe I'd done it in like a workout class, like, but I didn't know anything about squatting and deadlifting and all of that. I never even thought about it. Yeah.
Wow. So what about getting into weight training has changed your life, or how have you surprised yourself going through that?
I definitely did. Yeah. Well, I just like Sarah, I sort of in the same boat. I'm like, I'm not strong at all. I'm a yoga girly. Like maybe it's Pilates yoga girly, like, which love that. It is so fun. But yeah, lifting sounds so just like whatever, but like there is so much to it. Like it is like, it's so simple, but it's so healing. And for me, I noticed like not only does it build strength and stop pain, but it also like I feel like it's anti-inflammatory for me. Like I have lupus and autoimmune issues and whatnot. And like strength training is like the all-encompassing, just like healer. It's so good.
Right.
It's so good. But I never cared about it or thought about it or just like whatever. But now I will never not do it. Never. Because I have since Limitless had some times of taking breaks. And I'm like, I fall over and sprain an ankle. Like I'm telling you, like the universe is like, no, you're gonna get back into this. So I have no option.
Well, and that's really cool too, to just see what good things have come out of this injury. It sounds like you love strength training. I think resistance training everyone should be doing to some extent. And that's something that maybe if you hadn't gone through this injury, that maybe you wouldn't have become exposed to, right? Or seen and felt the importance of going through that.
Yeah, 1,000%. And this made it a lot less intimidating because the program obviously is a slow build because it's for people that are injured. It taught us like really slowly from the foundation. It wasn't like, I think maybe it would have been a little harder if I was in perfect health and then felt like all of a sudden I just need to be like, know how to do everything in the gym. I was able to just like learn really simple things at home.
Right.
So it was a slow burn with strength training.
Right. Yeah. What was kind of what were some of the exercises do you remember kind of going through the program? Because again, people are like, what are these magic exercises in the program? How would you kind of like explain the progression of what the program looks like over the course of the 8 modules?
Yeah, it really progresses, which is nice because the more you heal, the stronger you feel, and then you want to get challenged. And it's like, oh, I'm finally able to move again. But it does start really simple. Definitely, I feel like maybe some more mobility stuff in the beginning, and then probably more traditional strength stuff as you progress. But also, some of the movements you're hinging the whole program, but it's like we're adding weight throughout. So some of the things are introduced really early, but just in a really simple way with no weight. You're just literally learning how to hinge properly, which I definitely did not know how to do. And then as you learn that, you're really deadlifting, you're adding weight, etc. So it's a really nice progression to where you don't even really notice what's happening. And then you're on module 8, and you're like, I'm like doing a full out hardcore workout over here.
Yeah, you had this really cool Facebook post where you were like, I went from not being able to carry my groceries to being able to deadlift pain-free.
No, 1,000%. I could not grocery shop. I was Instacarting because couldn't hold groceries. Yeah. And then now, like, I'm on a heavy packer with traveling. And in, like, for example, I was just in Paris. They don't have elevators. It's like 4 flights. I mean, some of these old apartment buildings, it's like you're gonna get hurt if you're not strong. Like you better be able to lift your 70-pound suitcase. So now I'm like taking 70 pounds, because I'm an overpacker, taking 70-pound suitcases and like carrying up 4 flights of stairs. And if I didn't have the strength to do that, I would get injured. Like if I hadn't been injured before, I'd be injured now probably.
Right. Yeah. You definitely do take all these things for granted. And, I think being in the health and fitness and rehab space, it's like, I love it. I work out sometimes 10, 12 times a week between runs and lifts. And I just love it. Right. So, and then you try to communicate to people who haven't been injured or just why strength training is important. And you actually understand it, right? Like going from feeling like you have your entire life ahead of you to going through really dark time and then maybe questioning like what my life is going to look like. Am I just going to be a prisoner in my own body with chronic pain and never be able to experience things that other people are able to experience? And then like conquering that experience, which is insane. I hope everyone has some sort of cool story like that. But also at the same point in time, like I don't want anyone to, I don't want people to feel what I felt, but also if I could know that people would feel that, but then also they could go through it successfully, then I would want that in a way, just because I think it's only made me a better person. Of course, I don't wish any injury upon anyone, but it's been such a blessing, which I know is a weird thing to say, right? But do you feel like that?
1,000,000%. Like, yeah, as bad as it was, and really like it was really dark mentally. Like if I was given the option, are you going to go through this or not again? Like, like it's so crazy to say because it actually was so bad. But yeah, I think I would say, yeah, I can't imagine now not having gone through it. Like from what I've gained, it really, like it sounds so cheesy, but it's so true. Like pain really was the greatest teacher. I cannot imagine not
Right.
having that. Yeah.
Speaking on dark times, what did that look like for you? What were some of those dark times? I know you're talking about the coffee shop. I'm sure you probably have other moments like that, huh? Or just thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm a very bubbly, happy person. You probably sense that, like, of course. And so it's
Definitely,
like,
definitely.
so I'm like, it says a lot if I'm not that way, but um, a mix of things. Definitely extreme anxiety because I was always in constant fear of having a bad flare up to the point where I even had several full on panic attacks because I was like so scarred from the pain of the flare ups and so scared about the next one hitting that I would have full out panic attacks. Like sometimes I even had nightmares and was hallucinating being in a flare. And then also super depressed, like so depressed because it is so isolating not to be able to do anything. I couldn't go out to dinner with my friends because I couldn't sit at the restaurant. I couldn't get like a lot of fresh air because I was, couldn't walk that far, etc. So that just also makes you really depressed. And so I was so low and like really hopeless. Yeah, like and so angry. Like I would just and 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 I actually, yeah, no, this is the big one. There was a time where I remember thinking like, honestly, death sounds like really nice. Like sleep, because I don't know if I can do this. Like that sounds better.
Yeah.
She's just so crazy because it feels so far away now. But that like
Right.
was so real. Yeah.
Yeah. And how did that feel having that extremely dark thought and then also juxtaposing that to like, but I'm Camille and I'm this bubbly person and I love life and I love my friends and I love my family and I love doing things. But then you're having that thought too.
Yeah, it's like such a mind warp. It's definitely an identity crisis. And I've definitely always thought like that seems like, oh, I would never think that. I can never even imagine thinking that. And then you find yourself thinking that. And it's like, wait, what just happened to my whole life? Like,
Right.
what? It just blew up in front of
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. I mean, it gives me a lot of compassion for, I never got to that point in my journey, but like I don't even know if I would have or not, I
Mhm.
just know that the trajectory with my pain and sciatica and all those things, like it sucked. So every time I have a conversation with someone, like I can understand if you are along that route or not.
Mhm.
What would you say to people who, are on that trajectory dealing with chronic pain or injury and, have tried PT and chiro, like they've kind of been there. Like what would you say to them? What do you think they need to know, or what do you think you needed to know back then?
Mm. Gosh, I definitely have so much empathy. It's
Right.
so rough. It's like it can be so dark, but somewhere in there, like you have to have some little glimmer of hope. Because clearly, like obviously I was in such a dark place, but there was like there just has to be you have to have the fight in you a little bit. You have to have the fight in you because I think a lot of times also the people that don't get better are also the people that they just sit in that victim mentality, and you have
Yeah.
like there
Right.
has to be a little morsel of you that will still have hope and will still fight.
Right. Yeah. It's like, I have empathy. I have a lot of compassion for people who are in that place, but, you know, I was tired of feeling like a victim and angry too, because I was like, this is not going to help anyone. It's not going to help me. Like getting pissed off at my mom who like wants to help me out around the
Mhm.
house and is asking me why I'm so upset. And I'm like, I just want this effing pain to go away. And, taking it out on others and not like, not, not liking my life and just feeling angry and confused. I was like, this is not helpful though. This feeling of just letting this, I can acknowledge that, but just letting this feeling of like being angry at my situation and letting that overpower any action, that is
Mhm.
1000% not going to get me to the state of life that I want to get to. So I think you can balance those two and be like, yeah, you know what? I am really upset. I am really confused. I am kind of feeling like a victim. I'm angry that other people seem to be healthier or, enjoying life and I'm not, but like, you got to focus on yourself and you got to get better. And then you also kind of realize like, it's kind of funny going out of it. Now you're like, it's kind of funny that I was like angry at other people who like weren't in pain. It's like, it's not their fault either, but I can see why I was at that time too.
Mhm. It's pretty crazy. It's yeah, it's really weird. And it's like, you know what? Yeah, feel those feelings. Like it is what it is. Like, but then you also have to know there has to be a cutting off point where you're like, okay, like I gotta just get up
Right.
today and do something.
Yeah. And that's kind of interesting too. Going back to, like balancing the scale, you're talking about I'm a fixer, I'm a doer, and then I need to surrender as well. Like, where are you finding that balance? Because like you can't just surrender to your pain and be like, well, I just need to think it all the way too. And never get down and do the hard things and exercise. Because
Hmm.
like, hey, anyone who's going through our Limitless or hypermobility program, probably I would guesstimate spends, it's like 60 workouts, maybe more, at
Hmm.
30 to 45 minutes of effort. Like, it's not a little amount of effort. You can't just think your way out of getting strong and lifting weights and doing these things in progression. But also, you can't just control everything, because some people are like, tomorrow has to be better than the next day. And like, when's it going to end? When am I going to be out of pain? It's like, you can do a lot of things with our program to make it efficient
Hmm.
and fast as possible, i.e., posting videos, asking for help, staying consistent, just doing the program, follow the program, do it, right?
Yeah.
Consistently. Don't make excuses for yourself. Don't fall off. Don't do it once a month. Like, you're going to finish the program in 2 years if you do it once a month, right? So you can speed things up with your healing, your injury, your pain, but also there is the level of surrendering, right? And that's how do you kind of balance those two?
There's no way I can actually give you a good answer to that
Yeah,
question.
right. Sure.
This
Sure.
must be a part of being human.
Yeah,
Haven't figured
definitely.
it out. Don't know if I ever will figure it out, but there is some kind of line. And I think probably the journey of being human is like, how do I dance on that line like the best I can? Because you're gonna fall two way. You're always gonna probably be doing one of the other two strongly. They both
Right.
need each other, like a
Yeah.
million percent. Like I could not manifest muscles without lifting things. Like, if anyone figures that out, like let me know. But
I
haven't
like
figured that
that.
out.
Yeah, that's a good
So
way to
like,
put it. You can't manifest muscles. I really like that. That's a good point. Like, there are some things you're not going to just outthink if it's coming to sciatica or back pain. In my mind, from what I've seen, I feel like you need to do the movement stuff as well. If you were to never lift or do any sort of movement, and I think you work on your nutrition and mindset, you're going to miss out on so many amazing health benefits. And same thing, like if all you do is lift and eat well, but you don't focus on the other stuff, like you can be missing out on big pieces. So yeah, that is what's complex. And I think kind of
Really,
maybe individual with everyone's experience. The program has so much depth to it. It has so much structure to it, but it also has nuance to it. And I think that's where our members find different ways of tackling the problem. And a lot of our members don't use the Facebook group, and it's so cool to see them go through, but you were completely on the other side. You like used it so much, which we love. Like, you know, it's, I don't want to say it is more work for us to coach people. But also it's this really cool give and take. 'Cause like, we'll support you, but then you're like growing and you're supporting and inspiring other members. So everyone wins in that sense as well.
yeah, 1,000%. And you kind of said it a minute ago, like everybody's journey is going to be a little different. So some people might need to surrender in other ways that other people don't, and some people might need to work on this and that. Like there's not a perfect recipe. Like it has structure, and then you have to just be introspective enough to figure out like, what is my threshold here? Like, you know, we're all in different bodies, different things. So it's a great structure, but there's going to be some room where we can't, you know.
Yeah, it takes a lot of work. But I don't think you should be scared of that. You know, we've had some people like they'll enroll in the program and then they'll have second doubts because they're like, oh my gosh, there's 150 videos in here and there's 56 workouts in here. Like, wow, this is a lot. It's like, it is a lot, but also let's just take it one day at a time. It's not a lot if you take it one day at a time, you know, because we can't solve this overnight. And I think that's something we're very clear about. If you are listening right now, or you're in the program, like these incredible, like to be where Camille is today and all of our other members who have gone through, like, I mean, on April 22nd or something of 2022, you posted your first day, like, hey guys, first day here, chronic low back pain and sciatica. Now, you know, 30 months later, you are in just this incredible place. And I know it didn't take 30 months to kind of get to that place where you're happy, but it's been this journey. But it wasn't nothing, right? I think from what I remember, maybe in the first like 30 days is when you started to feel, you know, pain reduce. Is that correct?
Yep, correct. Yep. It happened.
But were you doing it every day?
I would, yeah.
Do you remember what the time commitment was for you?
I would say probably an hour every day.
Okay.
Sometimes I would, well, I mean, honestly, I kind of let it fit my life a little bit. Sometimes if I had, sometimes 30, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I would spend over an hour though. Like
there
were days where I would do more 30, 40 minutes and that works. But there are also days where I was like, I'm going to like go really slow and like really record these videos and this and that and take my time.
What else do you have to do? You know, you got numbness, you got pain, you got your life feels like it's falling apart. Like, don't try to rush it. Just do a really good job with it, right?
Yeah, because then it's like, why would you want to have to and then have to like restart the whole thing?
Right.
You know, because I will say there's people that do that. They get to like halfway through and they say, hey guys, I actually haven't posted any videos, so now I'm gonna restart. Yeah. And that actually slows you down even more.
Right.
So it's like slow and steady wins the race.
For sure.
Yeah.
When you said that, I mean, I don't know. You said, oh, Whealth was kind of a last shot thing for me. And maybe you're saying it was the last shot because it was kind of finally the thing that worked. And, you know, maybe if Whealth didn't work out for you, maybe the next thing it sounds like you're the kind of person that would keep taking shots regardless, because you're not going to give up. But like at that point in your mind, when you did feel like, oh, this is like my next last shot, what did that mean for you? Like, what parts of your life were you feeling like you were going to have to sacrifice or let die off? And I know you talked about that really dark thought that you had where all of it could die off. But I mean, were you getting to the point where like, hey, you know, just my life is just going to look like no more traveling, no more XYZ. Like what did that really mean for you back then?
Yeah, I know. I definitely had some moments where I kind of thought like, when I was thinking about, okay, well, what does it mean to surrender? How can I do that? And there were moments where I thought like, okay, does this mean I really just surrender and find peace in where I'm at,
Right.
which is
Yeah.
living with pain, which is living with not being able to travel and not being able to adventure, not really knowing like where my life's even going.
Yeah.
Um, Thankfully, that's not what the answer was, and you can surrender, but
Right.
in other ways and in other things, and thankfully that it didn't go that route. But yeah, no, I was like, I'm always gonna have hope, but I am really running out of ideas here. Like I am really
I know.
not sure
What
what
else
else
is gonna
exists.
work?
Yeah, yeah. Or do I have the money? Because I mean, you can get into things which are they effective? Who knows? But you can spend stem cells and this and that and
Right.
whatnot. But I'm like, one, is that even going to work? And also, like, I literally don't have the money. So
Right. Yeah. Some people are flying down to Mexico, paying 20K on stem cells or whatever.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
we like to, I don't know. I'm not the scientist there. I don't know what percentage of efficacy is there again. But again, I think like you can't manifest the muscles. I like that. I think that one's going to stick with me. It's a great proxy for like people like to talk about sauna and cold plunge and supplements and red light and heat therapy and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, if you don't have your nutrition dialed and like the actual movement practice dialed and the sleep and the recovery and the mindset and the relationships and all those other things, like, I don't want to say you don't have any business talking about the other things, because I still think there's so much merit to them. I love the sauna and cold
Yeah.
plunge. But again, the sauna and cold plunge, it's a completely different facet of my life. Like some people would be like, oh, well, I tried sauna and cold plunge for my inflammation, for my sciatica. I'm like, well, you're not doing like the rehab stuff that you need to do for that. So it's just two different facets. Like you can't.
It's like that should be the add-on,
Exactly.
not the starting point. Like
Yeah.
let's get the foundations before we do
Yeah.
anything else.
Or at least not the starting point for what
Yeah.
it is. It feels like your goal would be, right? Which is, to get rid of the pain.
Yeah.
Did you, chronic back pain and sciatica, did you have any other kind of issues going on with your body at that time? Or what was, I know that was front and center, detracting from every bit of your life, but did you have other aches and pains and stuff?
Definitely. Well, okay, in terms of like physical aches and pains and injuries, I've always kind of had little things going on. Like I had some minor scoliosis growing up and had like a lot of mid back and upper back pain, had a lot of neck issues. I've sprained ankles multiple times and this and that. Like I am a body that needs to be strong because I have a body that likes to just sometimes do its own thing and cause some injuries. Um, and honestly, since then, I've had little stuff happen, which remind me to go back to building strength because it's the
Right.
little things happen when I'm not doing anything. So
Right.
it's a good reminder.
Yeah.
But outside of that, yes. As I mentioned, like I have lupus, which is an autoimmune disease. Have just like a lot of inflammation. I've had a lot of internal stuff, inflammation, gut issues, all kinds of things, which is it's like I actually had those before the back injury. And then the back injury was so loud, I almost like forgot about that. And then the back injury comes down, you're like, oh, I do have autoimmune diseases and whatnot. Like, still need to keep working on those, but it all goes hand in hand. Like you fix one and it's gonna help the other. Like yeah. But yes.
Yeah. What do you kind of think, when people have a shoulder injury or a back injury or whatever, and you come into the Limitless program and there's a lot of emphasis on the back and whatnot, but you have other skills as well that you're doing. What did you experience by working on other parts of the body as well, while your main focus was low back, sciatica, stuff like that?
Okay, 1,000%. Like it is so all connected. Like you cannot just fix your foot, your knee, your back. Like it's all connected, and when you have to treat the whole body. Like I did not fully understand that until the program, and it's so true because now even if I have some kind of little injury come up, like for example, I actually have fallen since then and sprained my ankle, like an actual like accident injury, and even that brings me back to the basics, and stuff I'm doing for that is also helping my back. Like the more you learn about this philosophy and style of training, you just realize like it's so all connected.
Right. Yeah, that's really cool. And I mean, I feel like there's so many layers to the nuance of what's so special about Whealth and the program, but also like the individuals that do it and your entire experience. We're trying to put it into words, and we could talk for way longer than both of us want to, but we could talk for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours on all of the nuances and what you've gained from it. But I think that thought process that you're talking about, like, hey, if I have an injury in the future, like, here's what I need to do, and here's how I need to see it and think about it and not catastrophize it. So yeah, like for instance, if you sprain your ankle, which you fell and you kind of did that, what goes on in your mind? Like, what's kind of your checklist there?
Yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah, no, I've sprained my ankle twice from literally falling over. I've strained my hamstring. I've done all kinds of little things, just like lifing. And obviously these are much smaller scale things, so it's not like the dark days of the back pain, but it gives me a glimpse back there. And that's where I say like pain was my greatest teacher, but it also is my greatest teacher because life is going to keep going on and like things are going to happen, like you may just get into an accident or whatever it is, like, but things are going to happen. And so like the work I did physically and mentally, all of it is still with me and still teaching me. Because even, recent stuff where I start to forget about those days, honestly. Like that, obviously our mind also wants to protect ourselves, so it's going to push that far back. But little stuff will happen, like an ankle issue or whatever, and I'll get a glimpse of that, kind of that spiral again. Not like, oh no, I got to fix this now. Is it going to get worse? Am I not going to be able to do this? My workout or whatever it is, and I'll start to get a glimpse of that spiral again, and then I'm like, oh wait, we've been here before. We know this game. Like, this is not the end. Like,
no, yeah, it's not the end. And it's funny. I mean, even I would say I'm pretty seasoned in that, but like last year I was training for a marathon and did a run, and I don't know what happened to my Achilles. I didn't really look into it too much. I wasn't too worried, but I couldn't walk for a few days. And I was like, yeah, I ramped up the volume way too fast. And then I just went back to the drawing board. I'm like, okay, I've been here before. I know what to do. I'm going to kind of work on other areas around the ankle, but also definitely some tailored stuff to the ankle, and also work on my running mechanics and this and that. And it was like a week. And then I was back into running, and it's been like pretty much, we're trying to be careful. We do try to be very careful about using the phrase pain-free with the program as that being an effect or outcome, because like you should feel pain the rest of your life. Like you want to, like, if you do something to your body, like that is also supposed to be some sort of protection and a good signal to you that stuff is going on. But also I think if you successfully go through pain or injury and kind of learn with it moving forward, how to read those signals. So like when I couldn't walk on my Achilles, like I wasn't like, oh my gosh, like what if I never get to walk again? It's like, I'm going to walk again. Here's what I'm going to do. And time's going to kind of help it heal. And then I'm also going to be the fixer. So I'm going to kind of surrender, and I'm also going to be the fixer, and I'm going to balance that.
Yep.
I like that. You're teaching me stuff right now.
Yeah, no, exactly. But yeah, and it's so true. And like, that is why, like, as such, we both are huge believers in the program and its effectiveness, but we're also not afraid to say like, no, like I'm gonna be in pain again. Like this is life. Like, and it's okay. And we're not afraid of it. Like we're not gonna let it rule us. We're surrendering to the fact that we could be in pain again.
Right.
But it's a different game. It's a different,
so
we're not talking about the same thing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I don't know. You can't change everyone, but there are a lot of people who I think accept a reality with a lot of pain and suffering. And they're like, hey, this is just life. And I'm like, yeah, but not to that extent, not even remotely. Like you don't even know how much better you could feel truly.
There's a big difference. Yeah. And accepting that I might fall over and hurt something temporary, and I'm accepting that. But I'm not accepting like a miserable, depressed, extreme pain. Like there is a difference.
What about that day when you like got back on the beach and you were talking about, oh, the sand used to cause numbness on my leg and back pain and this and that, and oh, I was strong and stable in there. What was going through there?
Yeah, so you'll know this because you're in California, but so obviously living in California, you probably want to enjoy the beach. That's one of the reasons why I lived in LA and lived in Venice was because I loved going to the beach. Like we're paying a lot for this rent
We
out there,
sure
so
are.
it's like
Yeah.
I want to go to the beach. I live 5 minutes from it. I want to go. But that actually, so going to the beach was a huge pain trigger for me, which sounds so. I know, and I know my friends probably were like, "Wait, what? Like,
Yeah.
one of your greatest fears is walking on sand." But for whatever reason, sand. So sand is obviously it's very like bumpy and unstable. You can't really get your footing, and um, like it's deep and everything, and yeah. All that to say is that ended up being a major trigger for my pain, and it would cause flares in terms of pain, but it also would really mess with my sciatica and my numbness a lot. So I was afraid of it for the pain, but I was also just it scared me because it would mess with my mind with the numbness.
Yeah.
So I didn't go to the beach for like a year, literally.
Yeah.
Which is awful when you live in LA and want to do that. And then I remember, yeah, like one day I just went and I remember just kind of like pausing and thinking like, wait, this all of a sudden it doesn't feel like it has felt when I've tried to go to the beach a
Right.
couple times this past year. Like I'm not feeling that like weakness, like unstable, like my body is out of control. Like that's what it felt like when I was on this stand. It would feel like my body was out of control and couldn't manage itself. But it was all of a sudden like I remember because I'd probably taken a large break from going to the beach, and then it's like going before Limitless, then after Limitless, and all of a sudden being like, wait, my body feels strong. Like it actually like I
Yeah.
literally like feel the muscles working how they're supposed to work.
Right.
So
Such a interesting revelation too. I know we've talked a lot about back pain and sciatica and nerve pain but to that same extent, there's people who have that kind of same sensation and debilitation with their knee or their foot. Every single step of life anywhere is just a
mhm.
jarring, stabbing pain in the knee or the hip or the shoulder. I mean, we talk about some guy the other day was talking about how he can't lift his arms overhead and grab cups out of his cabinet because his shoulder hurts so bad. I've never been there, but I think like if you're kind of listening, you can resonate with that. But I think once you go through the program or something like it and just put in a lot of time into learning your body and building that strength, what I realized at least was like, hey, the sand is not out to kill me. This weight, this barbell behind me is not going to get me. The dumbbells, the kettlebells, like all of these narratives that people speak, like bench press is so bad for your shoulders and deadlifting and squatting is so bad for your back and running is so bad for your knees. And like, it's all of this kind of like fear mongering around injury and pain. And I think sometimes medical professionals, doctors, PTs, chiros, maybe who do mean well, just say stuff like that. And then you kind of tend to believe it. And I started to believe that too. Like I was talking to some guy this morning from the UK and he's like, well, I have a disc herniation. I really like rowing, but I guess rowing's really bad for my back. And I was like, dude, we can change the mechanics of that too, by the way. Like, we don't have to blanket give up rowing. Like, let's let some stuff heal. Let's change some mechanics. And you're going to get back and realize, like, maybe we just need to change some things around it. But you develop a different relationship with how you interact with the world, realizing you're no longer in the driver's seat. Like, you're driving too. You have control. You have strength. And stuff's not out to get you. You don't have to
Yep.
protect yourself in every single situation or control yourself in every situation, which if you've been in chronic pain, I think that's what you kind of start to do.
Oh
You
yeah.
start to lose, like the walls come in, your opportunities start to shrink and shrink. So you just like, you grasp on for whatever control you have. And as a result, you start saying, no, you don't go out, you don't hang out with your
Yep.
friends, you don't sit down, you don't do things where you can't control that, right? Like
They just have
you
in a
don't hop on
bubble.
a flight for 6 hours or 12 hours by any means. That's going to be anxious or
Yep.
anxiety inducing, right?
1000%. Yeah, you put yourself in a bubble. And now where we are now, we're like, no, like I don't
Yeah.
want to live in a bubble. Like
Right.
we're on Earth. Let's go.
Right. Such an insane, like, I mean, I recognize this is my company with Katie and Andrew, and it's a product that we want to get out to more people, but also at the same point in time, I feel like the price point is extremely fair for the value that I got. Like, I was a customer. I can't even put into words, like, knowing what I learned, I would have emptied every dime in my bank account at that time rather than pay $1,000, but it's funny because I do understand people come in with preconceived notions and they're like, well, what if this doesn't work out? So I do get that, but it's so hard to put into words like how much better your life could be.
Totally. And well, like, yeah, if money is a sticking point, which I agree, I would have paid more for it, honestly. But if money was a sticking point, shouldn't that be motivation to actually work harder at the program? It's like, you want it to work.
Right. That's a good point.
Make those 4 videos then.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Like, just
sometimes we need that motivation. We need to, pay for things. But all that to say is, like, honestly, it's compared to the money I spent on other stuff, that was like pennies. So
right. Yeah. Which, just having this conversation and knowing that what's crazy too is knowing, like, I already have 5 more podcasts scheduled within January. And it's like that. I mean, you've seen there's several thousand members in the Facebook group, and there's a lot of members who don't join the Facebook group. So it's such a high reach that we have with the program, and it's just incredible stories out there. It makes me grateful to be doing this because it really is making such an impact on that. But I also do want to commend you. I mean, we had the program, but like, there was a lot of work that you had to do, so now you're able to show for that. Take me through, well, maybe we'll wrap up 10 more minutes or something, but I do want to learn. So at 29, what does life look like now that you're not dealing with that chronic pain? You mentioned business, traveling, like, what does life look like for you?
Yeah, very different. I'm also like that. I'm not going to surprise you, but I'm a personality where, yes, I could just get out of extreme pain and then stop there. But I'm like, oh, now that I learned how much we can do with our bodies and heal, I'm like, let's just go to the extreme. So, like, I have goals that I'm just gonna keep pushing and pushing, and like, I'm not even near done on just, I mean, I have many goals in life, but just when it comes to like my physical body and everything, like, I have way more goals. I'm like, if it's dangerous, like, let's do it. Like, I used to be a big skier, and I'm like, I want to get more back into skiing. Like, I probably want to run another half marathon. Like, let's just, like, whatever it is, like, let's keep pushing, let's keep going. So now I'm more in that phase of like, sure, I know how to not be in pain, but now I'm just like in that journey of like, okay, how much more can I really do? Because I love it. It's fun, and it's fun to have goals, and now I'm such a believer in how much the body can change and grow, and I'm like, oh, okay, it can do anything.
Yeah.
But where's life now? So yeah, this year has been very different because
you're a nomad.
I'm a nomad. Yeah. So I started this year, I started my own company working for myself because I had the itch to travel and just, like, be young and take advantage of that. So started my own business, put all my stuff in LA in storage, and then just set off to travel around the world. Cool. So to say I've done a lot of things this year. I've lived on a lot of different continents. Also just, trying to start your own businesses, you get that whole thing as well. But everything business? Recruiting. So I've done recruiting my entire career, but I decided to start my own agency. So basically now just like consulting for companies and hiring for them. So it's an agency of me, myself, and I. But that gets you to be your own boss and travel. Definitely. So honestly, it's been amazing. It's been great for my career as well this year, but also amazing to travel around the world. I mean, I've done so many international long haul flights this year. Like, literally 2 days ago, I was, on a 9-hour plane ride and lugging the suitcases and whatnot.
And going from the coffee shop experience, right, where you can't even fathom sitting in a coffee shop, to now you're able to hop on a flight.
It's crazy. I'm like, I'm in a different body. Yeah, it feels like I'm in a different body, literally. Yeah.
That's so cool.
So it's been an amazing year of just doing crazy things, seeing the world and really pushing myself. And I mean, I'm still in it, and we're not done. So there's more to come. But
Right.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
Again, I have the foresight. I know what my experience was. I knew, like, I don't want to, nothing that you're saying truly to me about your experience is surprising. It's just different because there's a lot of commonalities between what I experienced and other people experienced in our program. But it is kind of this interesting thing where, when I'm signing up new members and, if you book a call and we chat about the program, hey, is it going to be right for you? A lot of times I do like to ask people like, hey, what are your goals? And like, if I were to ask you what your goals were, like when you were starting the program versus 5 months in or a year in or now, it's so different because you just can't even comprehend what you can get back in your life. And a lot of people are like, oh, I don't care if I never lifted again, but I just want to get out of pain without bed, or I just want to be able to kind of be active with my kids and whatnot. And I try to challenge them a little bit and be like, hey, I understand you can't see that, but like, what about like, what would you do if you felt better here and there? Try to get people to think and kind of reach for a little bit more. But it is funny because, and I know the same thing for me, when I started Andrew's first program, I was like, well, I can't get out of bed and I'm wearing a back brace. So ideally, I never want to have to go to the chiropractor again. And I want to be reliant on myself. And if my fitness has to drop, and if I can't be that type of athlete, but like I can go through the day and like be present with my friends and my family and these things, like that's a win for me.
Yep.
And then you get that back and then you're like, wait, okay, what's the next thing? And so it's just like the goalpost keeps moving. There's never a finish line,
Yep.
So people think the finish line with the program is like, oh, I want to become pain-free. And it's like, hey, it's awesome when our members resolve their injuries, but then what? And then you're able to take so many incredible lessons that you've learned. And then this desire for more, and for me, that's kind of blended into like running and marathon stuff and endurance. And it's just so cool. It's still a proxy, like because I've gone through that marathon training experience for my back pain and shoulder and disc herniation, I can appreciate the whole marathon running training approach as well. It's like so many parallels.
It's so crazy. And another good reason why like this community is great, because like I'm sure other community members are like, you're an example. Like I'm over here being like, okay, I'm done. I'm like, I made it through. I built strength, I have pain, and I'm seeing you running marathons, and I'm like, all right, should I do that? Like that's another. It's like we're all motivating each other, even past the program. Like, because you don't know what you don't know, and then you see somebody else doing something, you're like, wait, just changed my goalpost.
Yeah. I mean, we had a member, Sam Indrasano. He just broke 4 hours for the marathon. He's in his young 20s.
I remember him in the group.
Yeah.
Like, literally remember him.
He might be 22 to 24, and he was texting me like, hey, what do I need to do for marathon training? And I didn't give him that much, advice, because it's just like, hey, but we talked for a little bit and kind of went over the principles, and pretty much he posted that final result of like, hey, I did my first marathon, 3 hours and 57 minutes. Like, I'm so grateful for Whealth for like showing me what's possible with my mind and body. And like, that is like almost the coolest thing to start hearing when people are so far along the program and community, when that's what they're taking away. Like, that is what you're learning from this program.
That's insane. Yeah. And now I'm like, okay, I'm more motivated.
Right. Yeah. So what are some of those, what are some of those physical goals for you? As you are traveling, like, how do you kind of take care of yourself? How do you see yourself opening up and achieving some more physical goals?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned like strength training will always be a part of my life, and traveling this year has been like a good reminder, because there's been moments where I've like let it go, and little things will pop up, and I'm like, okay, probably just keep the routine. So now, like, no matter where I am on the earth, like I will have a routine and I will be maintaining strength, and ideally increasing strength, but definitely maintaining. So that has been, I'm just like more motivated to like always, be in the gym, be lifting, be building strength. Literally no matter where I am, like I don't care if I'm on a remote island, like we're finding some weights, like there is no option. But beyond that now, like, so that just is going to always be a constant, like for sure. Like that's the lifeline. But now I am in that phase where I'm like, okay, like what do I want to really push it with? Like, I think I want to get back into running. Like that's kind of where I'm like at right now, and kind of working through that. Like I had ankle issues. I actually strained my hamstring. Like, I don't even know how, but I did it. So now I'm trying to figure out, like, okay, like how I'm not going to let these little things stop me. Like, I'm still going to, like, if I want to get back into running, I'm going to get back into running. So I'm in this, I mean, like, you'll definitely have to follow up with me in like the next year to see, like, okay, what happened? Because I'm in that phase now where I'm
Sure.
like, where am I going to like really push it? So
Yeah, that's so cool. Maybe last question, but what have your friends or family members or anyone close to you, like, what have they kind of seen? Like, what has their experience been watching you go through this?
they saw it all, friends and
Yeah.
family. And I think friends are just like, what, that was just crazy. I think they're just like kind of amazed because they like,
Yeah.
I had roommates during this time, and they saw me in dark times
Yeah.
and cooked for me and did the dishes for me. And so I
Wow.
think, yeah, they saw like the full journey. And so I think they're just like, whoa, that was crazy. And my family's definitely really honestly inspired, because they like chronic pain and back issues is not just me in the family, but I'm the only one who's like, who really it went like all the way dark and then all the way up. A lot of people in my family have had their issues but kind of sat in it and not done a
Yeah.
lot, and
Yeah.
that's tough. So I think I'm inspiring to them, and then honestly there's still some family members that
Yeah.
haven't put the time in
I know.
and the
Yeah.
dedication
I think
in,
we were
and it's
talking
tough.
about a family member that you're trying to get in the program, and yeah, it's tough, especially when, but you can't change everyone. And I
You
think,
can't.
the longer that I've gone through this and the further I've actually gotten away from that time in my life 7 years ago when I was in pain, the more you can just kind of be that person, and just your confidence, your presence, your energy, like, people can start to sense there's
Yeah.
something different, and you've had such a pivotal experience. That's so cool. Are you like, has this experience shaped your desire to like try to inspire other people, or just knowing that other people are feeling like you? Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, it's wow, there's so much I've learned. Like, what do I do with this?
Right.
Like, I'm
Yeah.
still, because it's, you probably understand, it's still hard to like put into words the
Yeah.
whole thing. It's just crazy. Like, what happened?
Yeah.
Like, that was so crazy. So I'm still like making sense of it and
For
figuring
sure.
out how to put it into words. And it's,
It's kind of still fresh to you. Like,
yeah,
I recognize it's been 7 years since I had that kind of 7, 8 years. For you,
yep,
it's been 2, 3, right? And so I'm just thinking back on my evolution. Like, what I was doing 2, 3 years in is not what I'm doing now, and
yeah,
the confidence that I've gained. So I'm really excited for you to get
yeah,
there as well. Cause like,
yeah,
it's only going to continue to get better as
yeah.
long as you keep putting in the work as well.
No, 100%,
Like, you're going
100%.
to surprise yourself every single year,
Yeah.
ideally, if you kind of stick with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, oh, I will. We've
Yeah.
come this far.
Yeah.
We're not going back.
You're going to be, I mean, kind of unrecognizable.
Yeah.
One thing that's interesting too is, I like your family, your friends, like the fact that they're cooking for you and cleaning for you at 26, 27, whatever, 28. It's kind of wild that you're like, damn, that's what, like, I should be 80 and someone be taking care of me, right? But it kind of feels like this invisible pain. And I hear this from a lot of our young members who, we have people in their teens, in their 20s and 30s and 40s. Our eldest is like 74. And no matter where people are meeting me on the conversation, they're like, well, it's like easier for younger people because they have more energy and they have less responsibilities. But then if you talk to the younger people who are doing our program, they're like, yeah, but everyone, like, it almost feels like I'm being gaslit, or everyone's like,
Yeah.
you're too young for this. Like, you shouldn't be dealing with that. So no matter what age you're dealing with this challenge, like, it just sucks in its own right.
Totally. Like, why are we even trying to pick who is worse for? Like,
Right.
what are we doing?
Yeah.
It's pain is just, it's tough.
Right. Yeah. Because there's gonna be people who are not in their 20s watching this podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and they're gonna be like, well, but she's in
Yep.
her 20s. So like, of course she, like, of course she was able to do it. I'm in my
Yep.
30s. Like, I'm in my 40s. I'm in my 50s.
Yeah.
What would you say to that though? For people who are listening, who have a similar experience, whether it be very challenging, but they're like, well, but it's just different for me. Like Camille's different.
Yeah. I mean, I think like such a big lesson that I learned is really that the I don't obviously I'm not in their body and I don't know what their exact journey is going to look like, but I do know that our bodies are designed to heal and they want to heal. So I don't know if it's going to be the exact way mine healed or the exact timeline or this or that. But like I truly believe the body is meant to heal and it can and it will improve. Like again, I don't know exactly their situation, but
Yeah.
I don't think it matters how old you are. I think like your body can improve and heal.
Yeah.
And there's been success stories of all ages.
For sure.
So
For sure. Yeah, I mean, we had this guy. I'm going to do a podcast with this gentleman, Joey, who's 56 now, and he had 12 years of back pain from 5 disc herniations, and he's a landscaper, a father of 3. So Joey didn't do our program until 12 years of pain. Like I had a year and a half of pain, and that was a year and a half too long. So, and then you have someone like Joey who's 55. He lost some weight during the program. He didn't come in like 100% fit. I think he was pretty strong from landscaping and whatnot, but and he did the program. I'm really excited because he's like, I would come back from a long day of work. I have multiple kids to take care of. My mind is telling me you're too tired. I don't need to do the program. He's like, I just shut that thing down and I did the program, So it's like wherever you're at, like if you're 55 and you've been dealing with pain for 12 years or 65 or 35 or whatever, and you're like, yeah, well, Camille dealt with it for 2 years. And like, for me, it's way harder because it's been 12 years. It's like, well, it's not even necessarily proportional. For Joey, somehow he claims he was pain-free in 5 weeks. So I'm really looking forward to unpacking that. Like, seriously. How did he get rid of his, and it's cool. I'm looking forward to learning how he got rid of his sciatica in 5 weeks after 12 years, right? But it's not like, oh, I was in pain for 12 years. So like, it's going to be a 12-year process. Like you can make improvements crazy faster than you think you can if you stay consistent with it. And for you, I guess you kind of saw some light at the end of the tunnel within a month of the program and then really finish the program off in like 4 or 5 months and kind of were pain free for the most part, sciatica and whatnot. And now you've just been growing since then.
Yep. I mean, and for any case, like we all can find an excuse or something to complain about. Like that's the easy part. So like, I don't know, I don't know what to say about all that. Like
you can't manifest the muscles.
Can't manifest those muscles. So like, I don't know what to tell you. Just get out there.
Awesome. Well, Camille, thank you so much for joining. Is there anything else that we didn't cover that you want to say or anything else that was important or impactful for you in this situation or experience?
No, like I think we covered it all. I mean, but
we covered a lot. Yeah.
Like I'm grateful to do this also because like it's meaningful to remember. Like we can just start to go back into just life and and like, and then it's like really nice to take like moments to really pause and just reflect and be like, wow, it's just crazy and amazing and so cool.
Well, if you want to do that, you go back in the Facebook group and look at all your old posts, right? I've done that too, where I've looked at old things I was saying at that time, old videos of me going through the program. I have that on my old computer, my first MacBook, and I have an entire file of all of these videos going through, and it's so trippy to look at. But
no, it is.
It also reminds me of all of the work that I put in, and like, I am proud for doing what I could do to fix it. And I'm also proud of kind of the surrendering aspect too, to mindset, for me, spiritual aspect of that and other aspects of why I feel like I was healed, my relationship with God. But I know some people resonate with that and some don't, but it's a lot of your own personal fixing that needs to be done and surrendering and manifesting, but also, I love that. I think that's what I'm going to take away with this. You can't manifest the muscles. You also got to get down and do the work. And like, just, I really like what you said. You can recognize the fact that you're having a tough time, but you need to like have another edge that still pushes you forward to take some responsibility and not let that anger hold you back from like living this life. So
Yeah. Yeah. Like we're all in the driver's seat. Like we have to do something about it.
all right, Camille, awesome. Well, thank you so much. Hour and a half just like that, but yeah, seriously, love your story. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
So fun.
all right.